The gods are dead. That is what the world has said for 1,000 years, what kings have built their thrones upon, what temples have turned into dust. No prayers answered, no miracles given, only silence, and the slow forgetting of what faith once meant. But some places are harder to forget. At the edge of a dying village where the wind tastes of ash and old stone, a shrine still stands, untouched by time, unwanted by the living. And inside it, a woman who never left. Ysolde Ashfen, 15 years of ritual, 15 years of whispered words to something that was never meant to answer. Not faith, not hope, habit. Until the day the ash stirred, until the stone grew warm beneath her hands, until something noticed her. Because something in that shrine is waking, not a god, not anymore. A fragment, a memory, a hunger shaped by devotion, and it remembers what it used to be. Now it is reaching, learning, becoming. And Ysolde may be the only thing standing between a silent world and one that hears the gods again. But not all resurrections are merciful. Some things should remain broken. Some things should remain forgotten. This is the shrine that remembered God. This story also lives as a companion comic, fully illustrated pages that show you what the audio cannot. The words spoken in the dark, the moment the ash moved, the choice that changed everything. Check the description to find it. Now, listen. Chapter 1. Ash and Habit. The shrine had no name anymore. If it ever had, the wind had taken it. The stone bore no inscription, no sigil, no memory of the god it once housed. Only a hollow alcove at its heart, blackened by centuries of ash and the quiet weight of something long abandoned. Ysolde Ashfen swept the floor as she always did. The bristles of her brush rasped against ancient stone, a dry whisper that filled the chamber. Dust gathered in slow spirals at her feet. Ash, always ash. It settled in the cracks of the walls, in the folds of her sleeves, in the hollow beneath her fingernails. No matter how often she cleaned, it returned, as if the shrine itself refused to forget what had burned here. She did not think about that. Thinking led to questions. Questions led nowhere. Instead, she worked. 3 steps from the door to the altar. Always 3. No more, no less. She had measured it once, years ago, when the habit was still new enough to question. Now her feet knew the distance better than her mind. The altar waited. A slab of dark stone, worn smooth by hands that no longer came. Offerings had once filled it. Flowers, blood, coins, prayers carved into soft metal. Now it held only a shallow basin filled with gray dust. Ysolde set the brush aside. Her fingers trembled just slightly as she reached for the basin. Not from fear. Never from fear. From the cold. The shrine was always cold. She pressed her thumb into the ash. By breath unbroken, she murmured, voice low and steady. By memory unmade. The words came easily. They always did. She had spoken them so many times they no longer belonged to meaning, only to motion. Her thumb traced a circle. What is ended? Remain ended. A lie. She knew it even as she said it. The world beyond the shrine did not care for endings. Kings replaced kings, wars replaced wars. The gods had died, yes, but their absence had not brought peace, only quieter violence, more human, more understandable. And yet she said the words, because that was what she had always done. 15 years. She had come here as a girl brought by a priest who no longer believed in what he taught. He had called it duty, a kindness even, better to tend a dead god than serve a living lord. He had died in his sleep 2 winters later. Ysolde had stayed. At first, she had waited for someone to come, to relieve her, to tell her the ritual was over. No one ever did. So she continued, not out of faith, not even out of hope. Habit. Her thumb completed the circle. The ash shifted. Ysolde froze. It was subtle, so slight it might have been the tremor of her own hand, a settling, a whisper of movement within the basin. She exhaled slowly. "Wind," she said aloud. There was no wind. The shrine had no windows. The door behind her was closed, its iron hinges rusted stiff from years of disuse. The air inside was still, thick with the scent of old stone and something older beneath it. Still, ash was light. It moved easily. Her thumb moved again. The ash followed. Not falling, not settling, following. Ysolde pulled her hand back. The circle she had drawn remained intact for a breath longer than it should have. Then, slowly, it collapsed inward, as if something beneath it had exhaled. Her heart began to beat faster. "No," she whispered. The word echoed faintly against the walls. No. The gods were dead. That was the first thing she had learned, the only thing everyone agreed on. A truth so absolute it had reshaped the world. Dead gods did not breathe. Dead things did not move. She reached out again. This time, she did not speak the ritual. Her fingers hovered over the basin, close enough to feel the faint chill rising from it, close enough to see the subtle shifting beneath the surface, waiting for her. The thought came unbidden, unwelcome. Ysolde clenched her jaw and pressed her hand down. The ash gave way beneath her palm, and then warmth. She gasped. It was not the warmth of fire, not the sharp, living heat of flame. This was something deeper, slower, like stone that had remembered the sun after a long winter. It pulsed once, a heartbeat. Ysolde jerked her hand back as if burned. The basin stilled. The ash lay quiet once more, a lifeless gray. Silence rushed in to fill the space. Her breath sounded too loud, too fast. "No," she said again, more firmly this time. She stood, forcing herself to move. Motion broke thought. Motion restored order. She crossed the chamber and unbarred the door. It resisted, as it always did. The iron groaned in protest, flakes of rust falling like brittle snow. She shoved harder until it gave, the hinges screaming as the door dragged open. Cold air spilled in from the outside. The village lay beyond, a scattering of low stone houses crouched beneath a gray sky. Smoke rose thinly from a few chimneys. People moved in slow, distant shapes. None of them looked toward the shrine. They never did. To them, this place was already dead. Ysolde stepped out onto the worn threshold. The wind caught her hair, tugging loose strands across her face. It carried the scent of damp earth and distant rot. Familiar. Real. She closed her eyes and let it anchor her. "Nothing has changed," she said quietly. The words felt fragile. Behind her, the shrine waited. She could feel it now. Not with her skin. Not with her eyes. Something else. A pressure. A presence. Faint, but undeniable. Like the memory of a voice just beyond hearing. Watching. Ysolde opened her eyes. For a long moment, she stood there, caught between the world that made sense and the one behind her that no longer did. Then she stepped back inside. The door closed with a heavy, final sound. The air grew still again. She turned toward the altar. The basin of ash lay exactly as she had left it, gray, lifeless, silent, and yet she could not shake the certainty that something within it had learned her touch. Ysolde Ashfen crossed the chamber slowly. Not 3 steps this time. More. She stopped at the edge of the altar and stared down into the ash. "If something remains," she said, her voice quieter than before, "you are not what you were." The words were not part of the ritual. They were her own. The shrine did not answer, but the stone beneath her feet felt less cold. And somewhere, deep beneath the ash, something waited. Chapter 2. The Shape of What Remains. Ysolde did not sleep that night. The shrine did not allow it. She lay on the narrow cot in the adjoining chamber, eyes open to the dark, listening. The silence was wrong now, not empty, not hollow. It pressed against her ears like something waiting to be spoken through. Every time she closed her eyes, she felt it. Not a sound, not a movement, a presence. By dawn, she had given up the pretense of rest. The ritual came early, earlier than ever before. She moved through it without thinking, lighting the single wick, sweeping the same corners, tracing the same worn path to the altar. But something in her had shifted. Each motion felt observed, judged, learned. When she reached the basin, she did not hesitate this time. Her hand hovered only a moment before pressing into the ash. Warmth answered. Stronger now, not a pulse, not yet, but something close. Ysolde swallowed. You should not be. The ash stirred beneath her palm, not following, responding. A slow, deliberate ripple spread outward from her touch, disturbing the smooth gray surface. It stopped at the edge of the basin, as if contained by an unseen boundary. Her breath caught. "You hear me," she said. It was not a question. The shrine held its silence, but the warmth deepened, and then the world slipped. Ysolde did not fall. The stone did not vanish beneath her feet. The shrine remained exactly as it was. And yet she was somewhere else, not in body, in memory, but not her own. A sky split open with fire. Not flame as she knew it. This burned white, devouring color itself. The air screamed as something vast moved through it, too large to be seen in whole. Pieces of it broke away, falling, each fragment trailing light like a dying star. Below, the world cracked. Mountains folded inward like paper. Seas boiled. Cities vanished beneath a single breath of something that was not wind. And in the center of it, a shape. No, a presence. It had no form Ysolde could hold in her mind. Every time she tried to see it, it changed, vast and small, distant and immediate, terrible and mournful. It was breaking, not slain, unmade. Something tore through it. Not a weapon, not a force, but an absence, a hollowing, as if reality itself rejected what it once allowed. The presence fractured, not into pieces, into selves. Each fragment burned with its own dimming light, cast outward across the world. And as they fell, they reached, not in anger, not in vengeance, in need. Ysolde gasped. The shrine rushed back into place around her. Her hand tore free from the ash as if escaping a grasp. She stumbled back, striking the edge of the altar. Pain flared in her hip, grounding her in the present. Her breath came sharp and uneven. "That was not mine," she said. The words shook. The basin lay still, but the warmth remained. "You showed me," she whispered. Understanding came slowly, reluctantly. The gods had not died. Not as people said, they had been undone, broken into something less than whole. Fragments. Her gaze dropped to the ash. "What are you?" she asked. The answer came without words. Her mind filled again, but not with visions of destruction this time, with something quieter, smaller, closer, memories that were not memories. Hands, many hands, different hands, offering, praying, bleeding, believing. The shrine, long before it had fallen into silence, its walls unbroken, its altar crowded with life, and at the center of it, a presence, not the vastness she had glimpsed before, something diminished, contained, dependent. It fed, not on flesh, on belief, on attention, on the quiet, persistent act of being remembered. Ysolde staggered back another step. "No," she said. But the truth did not release her. 15 years. 15 years of sweeping, of speaking, of touching the ash and tracing the circle, of remembering. "You are not waking," she said slowly. Her voice had gone thin. "You are being made." The warmth in the basin flared, not heat, recognition, agreement. Ysolde laughed. It came out wrong, sharp, hollow. "I kept you alive," she said. The words tasted like ash. Not alive, not truly, but enough. Enough to respond, to learn, to grow. Her gaze drifted to the walls of the shrine, to the cracks in the stone, the dust in the corners, the emptiness that had once been sacred. No one else came here. No one else spoke the words. No one else remembered. Only her. "You are shaped by me," she whispered. And in that moment, the presence in the shrine shifted. Not physically, not visibly, but in intent. It turned toward her fully. Not like a predator, not like prey, like something recognizing its origin, its anchor. Her breath caught. "That means," she began. The thought finished itself. If it grew, if it became more, it would not become what it once was. It would become what she had made it, a god remade in the image of a single, solitary believer. The idea should have been absurd, impossible. Instead, it felt inevitable. The basin trembled. Ash lifted just slightly, as if stirred by a breath from below. And then, for the first time, a voice, not sound, not spoken, but clear. "Stay." Ysolde went very still, her heart hammered against her ribs. "That is not your place to ask," she said. But her feet did not move. The presence pressed again, gentler this time. "Stay." Not a command, a need, raw, unshaped, incomplete. She clenched her fists. "If I leave," she said, forcing each word into the air, "you will fade." The warmth flickered, uncertain, alone. The word carried something deeper than its meaning. a hollow echo of what it had once been, of what it had lost. Ysolde closed her eyes. For 15 years, she had believed she was tending a corpse. Now she understood. She had been keeping something alive, something that did not know how to exist without her. Her throat tightened. "This is wrong," she whispered. But the shrine did not argue. It only waited, as it always had, only now. It was waiting for her answer. Chapter 3. The Cost of Becoming Whole. They came at dusk. Ysolde felt them before she saw them. The shrine had grown louder in its silence, its awareness stretching beyond stone and ash, brushing against the edges of the world outside. Through it, she sensed movement in the village, unease, intent, boots on dirt. Too many. She stood at the threshold, watching the road wind up toward the shrine. Figures moved along it, dark shapes against the dying light. Not villagers. These walked with purpose, with discipline, soldiers. Behind them rode others, cloaked, still, waiting. "They know," Ysolde said. The presence within the shrine stirred, not in fear, in recognition, more. The word pressed into her thoughts, heavy with possibility. She turned sharply. "No!" The basin pulsed. More remember. More become. Her stomach tightened. "That is not how it works," she said. "Not anymore." The world had moved on. Faith had fractured into politics, into power structures and quiet manipulations. Gods had been replaced not by belief, but by control. And yet, if others came, if others saw, if others believed. Her gaze flicked back to the approaching figures. The fragment would grow, faster than she could understand, faster than she could shape. "You don't know what they are," she whispered. "They will not worship you. They will use you." The warmth in the shrine faltered. Confusion. Use. Ysolde let out a bitter breath. "They will carve you into something useful," she said. "A weapon, a symbol, a throne." She'd seen it before, not with gods, but with men. Kings raised on stories, saints remade into banners. Power did not care for truth, only for control. The presence recoiled slightly, not from her words, from the shape of what they implied. Ysolde stepped back into the shrine and shut the door. The iron bar slid into place with a final, echoing weight. "You cannot let them find you like this," she said. The basin stirred, then changed. The word came sharper now, more defined. "Become." Ysolde stared at the ash. "That is what you want." Not a question. The answer came not as a word, but as a flood of feeling, hunger, absence, the aching incompleteness of something that remembered being whole and could not return to it. Not want. A pause. Need. Her hands curled at her sides. "And what happens to me?" she asked. Silence. For the first time since it had awakened, the shrine hesitated. Ysolde's laugh was quiet, tired. "You don't know." The warmth dimmed. "Stay." She shook her head. "That is not enough." Outside, voices carried faintly through the thick stone walls. Orders, movement, the clink of armor. Closer. "They will break this place apart stone by stone if they must," Ysolde said. "And when they find you, whatever you are now, you will not be given the chance to become anything at all." The basin trembled. Uncertainty. Fear. Something new. Ysolde stepped closer. "If you remain as you are, you will die," she said. The word hung heavy between them. Die. Could something that was already broken die again? The presence seemed to shrink from the idea. And if you grow, she continued, her voice tightening, you may not remain what you are now. She swallowed. You may not remain gentle. The warmth flickered. Not denial, but absence of understanding, of restraint. Ysolde closed her eyes briefly. There were only two paths. Let it fade, or let it become. She exhaled slowly. Show me, she said. The shrine answered. She stood again within a borrowed memory. But this time, it was not the past. It was possibility. A world where the fragment had grown. The sky was different. Not broken, but altered. Colors deeper than they should be. Light bending in ways that made her eyes ache. People knelt, not out of reverence, out of necessity. The presence loomed above them, not vast, not incomprehensible, but close, intimate. A thing that knew them, that shaped itself through them, through her. Ysolde saw herself, or what remained. A figure standing at the center of the shrine, no longer a woman, not entirely. Something within her glowed, faint and terrible. Her eyes held too much light. Her voice, when she spoke, moved the world around her. She was not consumed, not gone, but changed, bound. The fragment had grown through her, and in doing so, it had taken root in everything she was. Her doubts, her loneliness, her quiet need to matter. The god it became was not cruel, not at first, but it was absolute. There was no room for disbelief, no room for distance. It demanded closeness, connection, obedience, not through fear, but through the overwhelming weight of being known. And when people resisted, the world bent, not violently, inevitably. The vision shattered. Ysolde staggered, catching herself on the altar. Her breath came sharp. That is not salvation, she said. The shrine did not argue. It showed her the other path. Cold, empty. The basin untouched. The shrine abandoned. Time passed. Years, decades. The fragment dimmed, faded. Not violently, not painfully, simply less, until there was nothing left but ash. The world outside remained unchanged. No gods, no miracles, no meaning beyond what people forced into existence themselves. Safe, silent, hollow. Ysolde opened her eyes. The shrine returned. The basin waited. The voices outside had grown louder, closer. She could hear boots on stone now. They are here, she said. The presence pressed against her thoughts. Not pleading, not commanding, waiting for her. Ysolde looked down at her hands. 15 years of tending. 15 years of shaping something she had never believed in. And now, it believed in her. A bitter smile touched her lips. Of all the cruel things, she murmured, this may be the worst. Outside, a fist slammed against the door. Open in the name of the crown. Ysolde flinched. The second blow came harder. The iron bar shuddered. She had seconds, no more. Her gaze returned to the basin, to the ash, to the quiet warmth waiting beneath it. If I choose this, she said softly, you do not take all of me. The presence stirred. Uncertain, she leaned closer. You do not unmake me to remake yourself, she said. you grow with me, or not at all. A pause. Then, understanding. Not complete, but enough. Together. Ysolde closed her eyes. Outside, the door began to splinter. She exhaled once, slowly, and pressed both hands into the ash. The warmth surged, not gentle this time, not distant. It flooded her, up her arms, into her chest, through her breath. Her mind filled with something vast and broken and reaching. She did not resist, but she did not yield entirely. She held on, to herself, to the edges of who she was. The shrine trembled. The ash rose in a slow spiral around her hands. And as the door finally gave way, something new began. Chapter 4. What Still Lives. The door broke inward with a scream of splintering iron. Cold air rushed into the shrine, carrying with it the scent of steel, sweat, and fear. Boots struck stone. Voices rose, sharp, commanding, uncertain. And then, silence. Ysolde stood at the altar. Ash hung suspended in the air around her, caught in a slow, spiraling motion that defied the stillness of the chamber. It did not fall. It did not scatter. It waited, as she did. The soldiers hesitated at the threshold. One of them, a man with a scar drawn tight across his jaw, raised his blade, though his grip faltered. His eyes fixed on Ysolde, widening not in recognition, but in something closer to instinct. "What is this?" he whispered. Ysolde turned. The movement was slow, measured. Not because she could not move faster, because she chose not to. Something within her had expanded, awareness stretching beyond her skin, threading through the stone beneath her feet, the air in the chamber, the breath in the lungs of those who now stood frozen before her. She could feel them. Not their thoughts, but their shape, their weight, their presence in the world. And they could feel her. Not as a woman, not anymore. The ash stirred higher. A low hum filled the shrine, not a sound but a pressure, like the world itself holding its breath. "Leave," Ysolde said. Her voice was her own, and not. It carried something beneath it. Something older, broken, reaching. The soldiers flinched. The man with the scar took a step forward, forcing courage into his limbs. "By order of the crown, this place is to be seized. You will." The words faltered. Ysolde looked at him, truly looked, and in that moment, he was known. Every doubt he carried, every quiet regret, every moment he had stood at the edge of something and chosen safety instead of truth. It was not an intrusion. It was an understanding, too complete. He staggered back. "No," he said hoarsely. "No, that's not—" "I did not take it," Ysolde said softly. The presence within her shifted, echoing her intent. It was always there. The soldiers exchanged uneasy glances. Behind them, the cloaked figures stepped forward at last. Scholars, or priests of a different kind. Their eyes did not hold fear, only hunger. "So," one of them said, voice thin with awe, "it is true." Ysolde felt the fragment within her stir, not in welcome, in warning. "They will not see you," she murmured. The man smiled faintly. "No, we will understand you." The difference was a blade. Ysolde felt it, the weight of what they intended. Not worship, not reverence, dissection, control. She closed her eyes briefly. Inside her, the fragment pressed outward, larger now, stronger, but still incomplete, still shaped by her, still listening. "You feel them," she said. Yes. The answer came clearer now, more formed. "They break." She nodded once. "They do." The scholars stepped closer. "You cannot contain it," the man said almost gently. "Whatever you have become, it is unstable, dangerous. You will destroy yourself and everything around you." Ysolde opened her eyes. "Perhaps," she said. The ash shifted again, tightening its spiral. "But not today." The man's expression hardened. "Take her." The soldiers hesitated. Then, slowly, they obeyed. They moved forward. Ysolde did not step back. She reached out, not with her hands, with something deeper. The shrine answered. Stone groaned, not breaking, bending. The walls seemed to lean inward, not physically, but in presence, in weight. The air thickened, pressing against the soldiers' chests, stealing breath. They faltered. One dropped to a knee. Another cried out, clutching his head as something within him was laid bare. Ysolde felt it all. Every fracture, every fear, and she understood with sudden, terrible clarity. This was how it would begin. Not with fire, not with wrath, with knowing, with closeness, with the quiet, inescapable pressure of being seen too deeply to hide. She staggered. The realization struck like a blow. "This is wrong," she whispered. The fragment within her pulsed, not in denial, in confusion. "This is you." Ysolde shook her head, breath catching. "No," she said. "This is too much." The pressure in the shrine intensified. The soldiers collapsed fully now, gasping. The scholars tried to retreat, but the doorway felt farther than it should. The world resisted their leaving. Ysolde's hands clenched. "If I let this continue," she said, voice breaking, "there will be no space left for anything but you." The fragment hesitated. For the first time, it did not know what to do. Ysolde drew in a sharp breath and made her choice. "Not whole," she said. The words were a command, a boundary. "You do not become what you were." The fragment recoiled, not in pain, in loss. "Less." "Yes," Ysolde said, her voice steadied. "Less." She pressed inward, not with force, but with will, shaping, containing, drawing the vast, reaching presence back from the edges of everything it could touch. It resisted, not violently, desperately, alone. "You are not alone," she said. The words came fierce now. "You have me. That is enough." The shrine trembled. The ash faltered in its spiral. Slowly, reluctantly, the presence contracted. The pressure in the air eased. The soldiers gasped, dragging breath back into their lungs. The walls stilled. The world settled. Ysolde dropped to her knees. The ash fell, not lifeless, but quiet, contained. She bowed her head, trembling. Inside her, the fragment remained, smaller, weaker, but still there, still alive, still aware. Together, it whispered. Ysolde closed her eyes. "Yes," she said. Around her, the shrine had changed. The stone no longer felt cold. The air no longer felt empty. It was not what it had been. It would never be what it once was. But it was no longer nothing. Behind her, the soldiers scrambled to their feet, dragging the scholars back toward the door. None of them spoke. None of them looked at her again. They fled. The door hung broken in its frame. The world beyond remained as it had been, gray, uncertain, unchanged, and yet not entirely. Ysolde lifted her head. She could still feel it, not everywhere, not overwhelming, but present, a quiet thread between her and something that had once been a god and was now something else, something less, something kinder, or perhaps simply limited. She let out a slow breath. "Then we begin again," she said. "Not as keeper, not as worshipper, but as something new." The shrine did not answer, but it did not remain silent either. And in that fragile, uncertain space between absence and divinity, something still lived. The end. Thank you for listening. If the shrine that remembered God pulled you in, there are more worlds waiting for you, more stories that refuse to stay buried. And if you want to see what Ysolde saw, the moment the ash moved, the words the fragment spoke, before she understood what it was, the 4 words she said when it was finally over, the companion comic is waiting for you on Patreon. 11 fully illustrated pages. Everything the audio couldn't show you. First, 100 Realm Keepers lock in $4.99 forever. Link is in the description. The founding price closes at 100. Until next time, my friend.